Well, next we're going to have a segue to more emerged companies. These are companies that are based in Silicon Valley that are expanding in China and India and throughout the region. And I'd like to welcome to the stage Candice Lowe, who's the head of Greater China Expansion for Uber. And Candice, why don't you come up? And she's going to be interviewed by Lawrence Morgan, the COO of Nest, which is based here in Hong Kong, a very well-known incubator that is expanding internationally too.
It is.
So thanks, Lawrence, and thanks, Candice.
Not quite at Uber's pace. But whilst you take a drink, I'm old school here. Got paper. I noticed no other moderator has. Anson, teeing you up, mate. Teeing you up. Just kind of doing some research. Obviously, looking at the landscape in China, there's so many different players. You've got the Didi Dache, you've got the Kuaidi, you've got the Tiantians. For those kind of not totally familiar with what's going on in the taxi hailing or private car landscape in China, can you just kind of give a brief intro?
For sure. So Uber started almost 6 years ago in the United States. We first launched in San Francisco and went to the East Coast next. Within that 5 years, in the last 3 years, we've definitely started to see the car-hailing app space start to heat up in China. Didi and Kuaidi had launched about three and a half years ago, and we're definitely starting to see a lot of local platforms cropping up. It can vary everywhere from taxi to ride-sharing to carpooling to car sharing. So as we've seen that space evolve a lot, as when I was in the United States, I saw a lot of those apps being made and created and built. We're definitely seeing a lot of that now in China as well. So we've always kept an eye on China and looked at when it was right for us to expand, and we entered China about a year ago.
Right, and just for those who don't know, kind of Didi is backed by Tencent, Kuaidi is backed by Alibaba, obviously huge companies with significant resources. So you launched in Shanghai first, August-ish 2013, kind of soft launch. Even at that stage, the Tencents and Alibabas were getting involved. It was a bit of a battleground going on. What was the background? What was the kind of the vision to Uber? And how important is China as a market to Uber?
So I want to take a step back. Uber's been really focused on expansion really in the last 2.5 years. I joined Uber around 2.5 years ago, and we were still majority in the United States. It was 18 markets at the time. We were very focused on making sure our core markets, secondary markets were done well. London was our first market internationally. So we went to London. Then we went to Paris. European expansion, and the cities were growing faster than what we saw in San Francisco, in our home turf. With European expansion going so well, we really had our eyes on Asia. So when I started, we weren't yet in Asia, but soon after we landed in Sydney and Singapore next for the APAC region. Singapore really grew quite quickly, even faster than San Francisco, London, Paris. So for us, we just had really high hopes. With that, we had been really, really focused on expanding to all regions within APAC. Went to Malaysia. Taiwan was the second city and my first city abroad. Korea, Japan, Southeast Asia, all over, whether it was Thailand, Vietnam. And as we saw progress in over 20 cities in this region, we had really seen the record being broken within the company.
And all of this was before you entered China? All
of this was before we went to China. The background with China is Travis had done a trip. Travis is our CEO. Travis had done a trip to Beijing to really feel out the market, suss out the market. I think a lot of tech companies have been curious about the strategy, about the timing, how much prep they should really do, really understanding what it meant for us to do business in China. After that trip, he was there with regional heads as well as the head of expansion, Austin, who's based in San Francisco. And I think over dinner, they're like, look, let's just launch. I think our business has always been built on let's get there, let's grow fast, let's not waste time thinking too much about it, let's be smart about how we grow. I think when we go into every market, we're expected to treat it like a standalone business. Every city is a startup. As a launcher, a former launcher, I used to drop into markets, hire a team, train a team, start building the business, and then transitioning that over to the team, and then I move on to my next market. So in my history, I've been to 10 markets. I've lit up 4 markets of those 10.
What does lit up mean?
Actually decided to stay
on.
long term. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Decided to turn the lights on. So part of the expansion team role is to go in and feel out markets. So I spent half that time assessing markets, doing ground research, really understanding what it meant for us to do business there. So with that, we landed in Shanghai. We knew what we were up against. I think that we understood it was a pretty mature market at that point. The apps were focused mostly on the taxi market. Our business has always been built on a luxurious experience. So we started off in Shanghai with our Uber Black product, which featured luxury vehicles, and we were in soft launch mode for a bit. Guangzhou and Shenzhen came next, Beijing soon after, and then the second half of 2014 brought us to 9 more markets in China.
And I mean, there's obviously lots of press and lots of negative press that's kind of gone with Uber. I mean, how successful has it been with these 9 cities? Tell us about, how's it going?
I think China has far exceeded our wildest dreams. I know that it's a very competitive market, but at the same time, it's an extremely big opportunity. China has, with the tailwind of Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Beijing, the tier 1 cities, it made Tianjin, Wuhan, Chengdu, Chongqing, Hangzhou a lot easier and swifter. I think we really nailed our expansion strategy, our business models, and as a result, and getting smarter and smarter. What's different about China is essentially we've thought about a different approach on the ground. What works in all the other continents doesn't necessarily work in China for us. So localizing has been a really big focus of ours. And
yeah, I was going to ask about that. I mean, obviously it's kind of a very Western branded company. How have you kind of differentiated it in China? What have you done?
Uber has built a global brand and a global company. I think there's benefits to that. There's market attraction to foreign entities as well and foreign brands. Besides that, though, we really do treat every city like it's local, right? Culture in Shanghai is different from culture in Shenzhen, which is different from Chengdu, which is different from Wuhan. So for us, it's a local approach, a grassroots approach. It's very much core to our value. We want to make sure we're speaking to the audience in the local marketing way. We want to make sure we're building a business as people know how to run businesses in all these local markets. Keep in mind, these cities have populations of 10 plus million each. They're almost like standalone countries themselves. And everyone's extremely proud of where they come from in China. So we want to make sure we capture that culture, be local, focus on understanding what really drives people, right? In Guangdong and Guangzhou, folks are foodies. They love the food culture, and they're famous for it. Beijing and Shanghai definitely have a more international rider base. We have a lot of frequent business travelers that use Uber when they're visiting town, and then we want to make sure that we take care of everyone within all the regions.
And how do you localize? I mean, I notice I kind of get the emails coming through with different, whether it's a lion dance promotion or whether it's different types of foods. I mean, you mentioned obviously some of the cities are renowned for different foods. Is that then a promotion opportunity? I mean, how do you localize?
From a marketing angle standpoint, yes, line dance is one of those examples. We've launched international on-demand stunts, as we call them, like Uber Ice Cream. We delivered ice cream to over 130 cities around the world. Line dance started off in 4 cities last year and now spread all over APAC. We essentially, at a push of a button, can get you a line dance trip to come perform for you for about 10, 15 minutes and make a real ruckus in your office, in your neighbor's apartment, in your homes. So from a marketing angle, we want to make sure we're capturing the tone, which is very different from our branding and positioning in the US. Besides marketing, though, I think about localization in many ways, whether it's technology, whether it's how we think about regulations, how we think about press approach and strategy, how we think about social media. Weibo, Weixin is quite different. Influencers are extremely influential with the new media side of things. Key opinion leaders are definitely what drives a lot of our promotion. They've all got their own voice, and if they become great evangelists for you, they end up helping spread the word quite quickly. And then technology. When we first landed, we learned firsthand very quickly the technology challenges. Servers, Android, Apple, iOS systems. How do we efficiently make sure people can have a great user experience? So we think about localization across all aspects. And as well as in every market that we have a local team. So, a lot of companies have a centralized function. Headquarters are based in Beijing or Shanghai. For us, it's really important to stay close to the community and be on the ground. In every market that we have a general manager that runs the city. We have an ops management team and a marketing management team. And as the city grows, we grow the teams.
I mean, obviously coming back to kind of technology and WeChat and Weibo, China isn't exactly known just amongst ourselves, obviously, as a kind of easy country to operate in. You've been blocked and elements. I mean, just thinking about a lot of other history, China has subtly and not so subtly wanted to favor the domestic players in most of the industries. I mean, how have you approached that? I mean, is it that you're talking to the regulators? Is it that you feel that you don't need to? How has that kind of played out?
From a policy angle, we have a policy team dedicated to China. We've definitely had regionalized roles, but for the most part, China has become a top priority for our company. So we have dedicated guys on the ground who are in discussions with policymakers on how can we be a part of the conversation, right? The transportation industry isn't new. Similar to anywhere else in the world, it is traditional. But I have to say, China has been one of the most progressive places I've ever worked. They think about change so quickly. They think about creating and innovating really, really fast. And the regulators are already thinking about what is app platforms, what's the influence of app platforms on our day-to-day lives and helping us build smarter cities. So those conversations have been very interesting as well.
Is that a new thing, Xi Jinping, or has it been a very consistent policy in the 2.5 years you've been there?
I think building smart cities, that theme has been very loud and clear in the last 5 years. I think every market, every major market that we've taken a look at has been really focused on how do we think about infrastructure smarter, right? I've always been impressed by the megacities that I go to. Infrastructure is phenomenal. They think about scale in a whole different way, whether it's on the ground or whether it's in the central level. So from an innovation standpoint, we're definitely starting to see more and more attention paid towards that. I do know forward-looking, the government has been very pro-innovation, conversation around that change. So it's been a really great learning experience, and it's always wonderful seeing policymakers and the government so open to hearing about ideas.
So you don't see it as being anything that you've been disadvantaged in any way as a non-Chinese company operating in China?
Look, we're also new to China. So far, I think that we've had really good conversations. In the meantime, I think we do partner with a lot of local companies, whether it's on the supply side or on the demand side. All our partners are local. Many of them may be multinationals, but have had a long history in China and have been operating there. So for us, I think it's really creating this network amongst everyone that uses the platform and partners with the platform.
Great. just want to kind of come back. One of your colleagues, Sam Gelman, who I know now, he was at one of the Napoleon's things last year and said something very interesting, which was initially when they launched the service, it was very much around the premium, the luxury service, the being in a Mercedes S-Class. What they realized quite quickly was actually it's much more around the speed of the car turning up. It's really time is of the essence. That's the new luxury. Is that kind of what you've seen in China and Asia as well? Is it's not necessarily the flashy car as much as a car quickly? Or
So Uber was created and built on an idea by our co-founders. They're in Paris. They said, wouldn't it be great if I could push a button and someone could come pick me up real quick? When they moved back to San Francisco, it's like, well, wouldn't it be interesting if I can get an S-Class Mercedes to come and pick me up at a party, almost like a party trick, and started to spread word of mouth amongst their friends of this service. Over time, it just kept spreading. More people kept pinging them, wanting to really understand how they can get access to the app. So it did start off with S-Class Mercedes in San Francisco, and over time, we've really felt that choice is the ultimate luxury. I think we still offer that premium service with premium cars, but we also want to make sure we reach everyone, right? Our original tagline was everyone's private driver. We wanted to make sure we could take care of everyone no matter where they are, no matter what time of day, no matter where they were in every single city that they're in. So that has kind of evolved over time. If we can get you a car in 5 minutes, we really want to think about what else we can get you in 5 minutes.
I was going to ask, is there a time frame? Is it 5 minutes is your goal for everyone who orders? Is it internally?
That's definitely something we strive towards. And in China, I've definitely seen that choice matters at different price points. We also see folks using all products, whether it's expensive because they want to use it for different use cases. And within 5 minutes, if we can get them a car to go pick up a client at a train station or a client for a meeting, or they need to hop in a car to go across town to make sure they're on time, or taking care of parents, right? It's such a big family values is such a big theme in Chinese culture. So we see them taking care of their parents, their grandparents, their kids. So it's if we can get them a car in 5 minutes, and in most cities that we're in, depending on the time of day and traffic, we can get you guys a car in under 8 minutes all over China.
You were mentioning kind of other opportunities to expand into different elements. If we can get you a car, what else can we get you? Is that kind of a foresight of what's to come, or is it continuous country expansion at this stage?
So we've dabbled. I think it first started off with fun ideas. Can we deliver you ice cream? Can we deliver you kittens? Can we deliver you puppies? Can we deliver you food? We've run businesses where we launched...
And that's not puppies being food in China, just so... They are unrelated.
Exactly. We've partnered with animal shelters where they deliver time with kitties and puppies in multiple cities all over the world, and you had the opportunity to adopt the shelter animals. So
just to be clear.
Just to be clear, not dinner related. So with that, we've also launched what we call Uber Eats in both Barcelona as well as LA. We've launched different products where we want to make sure we have cars that are wheelchair accessible in New York, or cars with car seats. If you're a parent, you know that if you don't have a car seat, it's really hard to travel in a taxi or in a car with your kids. So we want to be able to take care of everyone who have families. So we've launched Uber Family. We want, like I mentioned, to take care of our community. So we find ways in every city, as it makes sense, to do so. We've tested a few things. I think in China, we've delivered food as well. We've delivered line dance performance for fun. But at this point in time, I think we're very focused on continuing to grow our core markets, and we are looking to expand in more markets in China.
Just to talk about the financing aspect, you've got obviously Baidu, end of last year, invested in Uber. Was that a kind of a play to kind of be seen as a more local player? What kind of strategic advantage do they offer?
When we first landed in China, an American technology company gets the question mark a lot. are you guys going to stay? And for us, we're extremely focused on staying in the market and being here for a very long time. We were in 4 markets, then 9 markets, and started to see the tremendous growth and the team start to grow. With Baidu coming on, it was very much a strategic partnership. To us, they are 1/3 of the 3 tech giants in China. Baidu has a long history. They've got a great network, and they've just been a really great partner for us strategically. From one tech company to another, it was really a perfect match. Our business is built on making sure it's a seamless payment process, making sure we have great mapping services so that you're able to use Uber the way you want it to. And given our tech localization focus in China, Baidu became a really, really perfect match for us. And they've been great guides in all aspects of us localizing.
Do you see it being a bit of a proxy battle? You've kind of got Baidu with Uber, Tencent with Didi, and Alibaba with Quixey. I mean, how does it all shake out? Any ideas? I mean, is there space for all 3?
Look, I think the pie is really, really big. And I think over time, there's just with more players, and we're seeing this not only nationally, but within cities and provincially, there's a lot of companies cropping up in this space. And I think it's just going to be divided amongst all of them. What's interesting is also Quixey and Didi merged recently. So I think with that, it gives us more room to be strategic in different ways. We saw a lot of money spent on demand-side marketing for a lot of players in China. I think it'll be interesting to see over the next few months how everyone's going to be allocating their funds.
And lastly, given that the guys around here aren't about to provide any financing to Uber, given its size, I've got to ask, at 40 billion valuation, firstly, is there an IPO on the cards anytime this year? And secondly, why should we buy the shares?
I can't comment on whether or not we will be IPOing. I think for us, this year the priorities are China and India. We're really focused on making sure we have an unbelievably strong foothold in those 2 markets. I've not often seen such a global company. We're in 56 countries, over 300 markets all over the world. I've not seen such a global company focus so solely on our success in 2 main countries so early in its life cycle. We're 6 years old. I know we've been around for a little bit compared to other folks, but to really make sure we have a dedicated engineering team, dedicated product programs board focused on tech, innovation, progress. I think that's super important and great to see. So I feel very fortunate that we're getting a lot of attention, resources, and focus, and unbelievably impressed by how open-minded and excited the entire company is for our growth here.
Thanks very much.
Well, thank you, Lawrence, and thank you, Candice. That was a wonderful case study as told by you 2. And I wish I could write a whole chapter in my next book about it.
We should chat.
Yeah, we should.